The FBI is now saying they believe Shamsud Din Jabbar, the suspected driver who intentionally plowed a pickup truck into a New Year's Eve crowd on Bourbon Street, acted alone. Jabbar is an Army veteran and U.S. citizen born in Texas. The agency releasing this poster showing images of him walking around New Orleans just over an hour before the deadly attack. He also placed a blue and white cooler with an explosive device inside near the intersection of Bourbon and Orleans streets. Photos from inside Jabbar's Texas trailer home show a bomb-making table and a Quran open to a page about martyrdom. The FBI telling lawmakers yesterday they had no prior information about Jabbar and he was on no terror watch list. Joining me now, former FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, former New Jersey Police Lieutenant, and former Office of Naval Intelligence, Steve Rogers. And Steve, I'm so glad you're here with us this morning. I want you to give us your initial take on everything we have learned so far about him. And really talk about the possible, radicalization of him by either ISIS itself or whether that was an inspiration from ISIS.
Well, we have a few things to look at here. I could tell you I've been speaking with a number of law enforcement officers who are following this case. I've got to tell you, the overwhelming number of us feel that it's impossible. It's got to be impossible within a 24 to 48-hour period from the start of this incident that the FBI came up with these conclusions. For example, that he didn't act alone. I mean, this has to be an extensive investigation. They usually take, if not a few weeks, a month or so. And a lot of people have to be interviewed. You have to have a forensic analysis of all the electronic equipment. Where is there any money involved from a foreign entity? So the fact of the matter is that I don't have much confidence in the FBI at this point. And by the way, if you remember, they first came out and said there was no terrorist connection. Then they said it was a terrorist attack. A lot of confusion down there. So that's something that they're going to have to get their act together. But I believe, and most of my colleagues believe, that at the very least, there were other people involved in the planning of this, if not executing it on the day that he did this.
You know what, Steve? It's interesting you say this because you're picking up on something that Senator Marsha Blackburn said, and is the fact that you had a reporter from the New York Post in Houston go to his home before the FBI got there. They didn't go to his home until 1 p.m. that day. And she's saying that it's disgraceful that the FBI was so behind the ball. Never mind the fact that they initially said that this was not a terror event. And then the New Orleans mayor said, absolutely, yes, it was, in the same press conference. So that's one question for you. But the other is just the culture at the FBI, change in leadership. I mean, what is going on at the FBI? Because Kash Patel has been nominated now to take over. Chris Wray is retiring, as we know, leaving. What is going on in the functioning of the FBI? Because this investigation from the get-go, there's been a lot of criticism against the agency.
Look, training has been changed from strategic training, tactical training, training on how to really complete thorough investigations to DEI. That has devastated the FBI. It has devastated law enforcement across the country. It has done no good to help the people of this country remain safe and secure. The FBI has to get back to its main mission, and that is to investigate crimes and do those investigations. You set up procedures to prevent things like this from happening. Our human resources are not as widespread as they used to be. People are not joining the FBI like they used to. Look, when I was a kid, I remember J. Edgar Hoover in those days, and watching the FBI on TV, you'd want to run to become an FBI agent. That's not happening anymore. And that is a ripple and chilling effect in every law enforcement agency in the United States of America. The agents on the field, God bless them, the men and women out there are trying to do the best they could. But when you speak to a lot of them, morale is bad. They can't wait to retire, just like the local law enforcement officers can't wait to retire.
That's unfortunate because there's so many good agents within the FBI and many hardworking men and women. So the fact that they want to leave and retire is unfortunate. But, also, too, we're in a very precarious position in time right now in our nation. We've had, years of an open border. We don't know who has been coming across that border, whether it's gotaways. We know that we have seen many on the terror watch list that have been identified as crossing through the southern border. That's one issue. James Carafano writes on FoxNews.com that, quote, more Islamist terror is coming and we are woefully unprepared. Your response?
Well, we are woefully unprepared. Back when I was on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, our daily concern, major concern, was terrorists crossing that border and coming into the United States, perhaps scattering all over our country, and then meeting up as terrorist cells. And I always said, you know, this isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm sad to say that, well, when may be now. This may be the beginning of something that we're going to have to really address moving forward. But we're not prepared right now. We need more electronic surveillance. We need more human resources on the ground. We just need a lot of leadership in the FBI that's going to do, as I said earlier, what they are trained to do or should be trained to do, and that is to protect the American people.
Okay, Steve, so let's talk about what happened in Las Vegas. So police have identified 37-year-old an active duty Green Beret, Matthew Livelsberger from Colorado. He was the driver of the Cybertruck that exploded New Year's Day in front of Trump International Hotel. Officials say he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head before the explosion. The FBI is claiming there's no definitive link between this incident and the deadly New Orleans terror attack, but there are some eerie similarities here. Here is more from the Las Vegas police. Watch.
There are a number of things in this case that are similar to the attack in New Orleans. We do know that our subject here served in the military. In fact, he's a current member of the military. Both of the subjects served at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. What we do know about that is it's a very large military base, and we have no record that they served in the same unit or even at the same years at Fort Bragg. They both served in Afghanistan in 2009. We don't have any evidence that they were in the same province in Afghanistan, the same location, or the same unit. Again, something else that remains under investigation.
And you know, federal agents, local police are now trying to determine the motive behind the explosion. His family says he was a big Trump supporter who loved his time in the military. Steve, what is your reaction to this?
Well, the officer we just heard from laid out the reason why the FBI should have never come to the conclusion the way they did, because those are dots that are being connected. Look, you've got these two individuals there in the Army. They're in the same unit. I understand it was reported that they even rented these vehicles through the same portico. So the fact of the matter is there's a lot of similarities here. And here you got the terrorists in Las Vegas. They blow up the car in front of Trump Tower, and it's a Tesla, Elon Musk. I mean, and then you've got the other guy over there in New Orleans creating havoc all over the place. So, you know, I believe these are connected. And again, the FBI, they're just too quick to come to the microphone. And I've got to tell you, that was rather upsetting to see those pressers in New Orleans. Every politician down there wanted to come to the mic, get their 15 minutes of fame when law enforcement should have taken control down there like they did in Las Vegas. The people deserve answers, but the answers have to be credible and they have to be factual.
Okay. And Steve, I just want to clarify that the two different gentlemen from these two attacks, they weren't in the same unit, but there was an overlap, it looks like, at Fort Bragg. But, you know, that's about it. So anyway, it looks like there is a separation here. But really quick, both trucks in these attacks were obtained through this car rental app Turo. It's very common. It's actually been around since 2009. So the company says they are talking to law enforcement, but both Jabbar and Livelsberger did not have any criminal backgrounds that would have identified them as security threats. And Turo says every renter is screened through a multi-layered data science-based trust and safety process. So is there anything that could have been caught here with regards to the app? It doesn't seem so, but what is your reaction?
Well, it doesn't seem so, but one thing that rather astonishes me is that one of these individuals, I believe it was the one in New Orleans, for example, had videos posted. We always tell people, you see something, say something. I find it hard to believe that no one else saw those videos. Somebody should have said something. And then again, we get back to our electronic surveillance, especially on the internet from our law enforcement agencies. So there are a lot of missing links here, a lot of questions that need to be answered. But at the end of the day, the FBI was too quick to come to the microphone and draw conclusions. They need to do a little bit more investigating before they feed the American people information.
Right. And there are questions about the neighborhood that he lived in Houston, and if maybe that neighborhood, that community is now drawing ranks around itself and to not cooperate with investigators. So anyway, Lieutenant Steve Rogers, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.